If you live in a densely populated area, then space is obviously limited. So much in fact that even a regular long john cargo bike can be too big to park at the street or store in your house. And some manufacturers have some ideas about it. Enter this bike, Riese Müller's version of a compact long john cargo bike, the Carrie. Let's have a look. It's got some very clever ideas to make it as small as possible while still maintaining the, well, uncompromised ride quality that Riese Müller bikes promise, and as much cargo space as possible. So the first is geometry-wise. You can see that the saddle is right above the rear wheel, especially when it's adjusted to my height, and the cargo space in the front is not very long. Well, but it's got some very clever ideas, but more on that later. This is the first cargo bike with a new design language we've seen in their Culture model last year in 2023. And with this new design, Riese Müller also implemented some details in terms of sustainability. For example, the frame is made in the same factory as the frame of the Culture model. So it shares not just the form, but also the manufacturing or some manufacturing details. And the frame is made from 80% recycled aluminum, along with their efforts to try to reduce waste and packaging as much as possible. There are 3 different versions of Carrie. First, the Carrie City with a Shimano Nexus 5e gear hub. This one, the Carrie Touring, with a 10-speed microshift derailleur system, and the Carrie Vario with an NVO-low CVT hub. All versions come with the Bosch Performance Line motor with 75 Nm of torque and with a 545 Wh battery. And in this case, it's equipped with the bigger one, the 725 battery pack. I get about 60 to 65 kilometers of range with in the touring or in the turbo mode. So that's quite something. As with all Riese Müller bikes, this bike can be configured to your needs, and this bike with options comes at a price of 7,000, well, I got it here, 7,278 euros and 20 cents, at least in Germany. So now you might ask, Tillman, look at the bike. It's not compact. How should I fit this wide of a bike into the hallway of my house? And I hear you, but the bike has some tricks up its sleeve. This bike now is equipped to, well, carry up to 2 kids, and we'll go through the details of the variability now. So first of all, there's this rain canopy, which is not really a rain canopy, but more a shield for rain and for sun. So you can see that the back end is very open, but it can be closed with an additional piece of fabric, which comes with this rain cover. But from the front, you can see that the bike is very wide and it covers the whole front and the whole seating area inside this box. It's very easy to set up this rain canopy and to open and close it. There's fit lock here at the side, so it's very easy to access, and it's even easier to sit kids in there when they can't enter the box on their own, because this rain canopy opens really wide. So this is maybe not the greatest piece of design when you look at the bike, but it works really well. And you can even roll this side up if the weather's fair and you still want to have some wind protection for your kids. And it's easy to get on and off the bike as well. So you just pull these tabs. You just pull it away from the bike. Important to note that this rain canopy cannot easily be stored in the bike, but it can be stored on the bike. More on that later as well. When we look at the bike from this angle, you can see that yes, it's actually really wide. This Flexbox is in fact so wide that you can fit a 60 by 40 Euro box diagonally. And so it builds up some centimeters on the sides again. So it's about 70 to 75 centimeters wide. So I had trouble to get this bike into my studio when this Flexbox is open. But it's not called Flexbox without a reason. But first let's look at the seats, because this is very interesting as well. We have some equipment to have a more comfortable seat for the children. So you can see it's suitable for 2 kids, for 2 smaller kids, or one taller kid. And the belts are named 5-point harnesses, but they are actually 4-point harnesses. You can see that it's attached on one point in the back. So the belts themselves are really wide, and this cushion is comfortable. They work well, but they're a little bit finicky in when you put the kids in there and you want to buckle them up. You sometimes have to try and search for the lower buckle. And this can be a little bit of a nuisance in day-to-day use, but they had to find some compromise when it comes to the box because of the variability of this whole operation. You can see that the footwell is quite limited as well, so when two kids are sitting in there, they have to share this small space in the middle. But I found out in the recent weeks that it's not really a big problem, especially in summer, of course. In winter, when they have their snowsuits on, it can be a bit tight, but luckily the box itself and the bench itself is really wide, as I said, about 60 centimeters, which is really great. Then in this configuration we have this additional headrest, which is really great if you plan on using this bike with kids, because it's way more comfortable. You can see that normally this bench is not that tall, and the belts come from a very low point, so it's easy for the belts to slip off the shoulders of the kids. With this headrest, they have a little bit more comfort. They can really lean on it, and even if it's a little bit flexible. But with this headrest, it's missing one awesome feature of this box. So it hinders the box from collapsing, which when I say it like this, seems to be a good thing, but this box is made to be collapsed. Let me show you. So again, this is this headrest, and it's quite big, so it's not easy to carry around with your carry. That's why I said you have to plan on using it, and you have to plan on using the bike with your kids if you want to use the headrest, because now you can see that the backrest is really low. There's some flexibility in this box, as I said. So this bench is easily removable. You just pull these tabs, and then you can pull it out in an instant. And now you can see the middle section of the box in its entirety, and it's about 30 by 40 centimeters, so as half as big as the upper part of this box. But it's already suitable for some groceries, for a booze, for anything you want to buy, or for your sports bag, or even a smaller dog. And the carry can be ordered without this box, without this flex box at the side. So you really just have this small compartment if you don't need as much space and you don't want to carry your kids around. So this is very convenient, and the bike gets really narrow if you lose these Flexbox EPP parts. It's called Flexbox for a reason, because if you pull these tabs, you can collapse the whole box, including the child bench. And suddenly this whole bike is very narrow. This is EPP, expanded polypropylene, and this gives it some rigidity, but it's also light, and it's flexible in use, and it's easily recyclable because it contains mostly air. So this is a great material. It's used in many different cargo bikes, and this box has also the advantage that it closes completely, so rain can get into this box, of course, but for light rain it's no problem to put your goods into there and leave it. And it's also lockable, so you don't have to worry about your things getting wet, and you don't have to worry about your things getting stolen from this box, at least not with, well, reasonable force. But you can also order this bike without the Flexbox, without the EPP parts, but yeah, with a bag or without anything at all. So you just have this crate down there, which delivers already some space, which is convenient, especially if you want to carry a dog or have just smaller items. So you can see that this bike is actually pretty flexible when it comes to the box and the accessories for the box. But it's not just suitable for 2 kids, but actually a 3rd kid can be seated onto a child seat on the rear rack, because this is made to carry loads up to 27 kilograms, so pretty sturdy, and it's got those MIG HD compatible mounts to carry a basket on the back. And of course you can put your pannier bags onto there. So again, a very flexible rear rack. But this bike doesn't just consist of great ideas when it comes to the box in the front or the rear rack, but also, what I love, is this kickstand, because it's really easy to use. And you can see that the stand itself is quite wide, and it's easy to get the bike on and off the kickstand. So pretty simple design of the kickstand, but it works really well even if kids want to enter the Flexbox from the sides. The bike stays upright, it doesn't move too much, so this is great. So another great thing about this bike is the adjustability. It's suitable for very small and very tall people, especially with this suspended seat post. So it's very easy to get the saddle really far out, and the handlebar is adjustable as well in height and also in the angle, because they use the same system as with their load models and with the multi-tinker that we have. So you can really get a very sporty position if you want, and you can get a very upright position, and it's very easy and quick to adjust it for your own preference. But of course a bicycle is just as good as it rides, and it pleases me to say that it generally rides pretty well. Riese Müller has a lot of experience in building cargo bikes, especially in the premium segment, but this bike, it isn't really set in the premium segment, but more in mid-tier level, and you can see it on some accessories as the lights, which are not cheap, but they're not awesome either. And also the grips are lower spec, and the saddle is a little bit lower spec. So it's kind of a mid-range bike for Riese Müller. But ride-wise, it's still great. It has a great handling, it has a great feel in the steering, and the motor, once the bike is rolling, is really great. It fits this bike really well. But I also have some gripes with the motor, because especially when the bike is loaded or you're on an incline, it takes a while to start to support. So sometimes you need 1.5 revolutions to get the motor going, and sometimes it starts at an instant. It's quite a gamble how the motor will react once you step on the pedals, and this is not really confidence inspiring. So I had 1 or 2 situations during testing which were odd. The second thing we didn't like was the steering angle. So to the right, it's got a great steering angle. You can really ride through sharp corners, and you can handle the bike really well. But once you turn left, this is another story. You can't really tell it from the angle that I'm shooting in, but it's not great. And in the 2 months of testing, we didn't get used to the fact that it doesn't steer as far into the left than it does into the right. So this is something I think you will get used to, but if you are used to ride cargo bikes and you switch from bike to bike on a daily basis, then this can be a little bit awkward. But overall, the ride quality is great. We have the suspension fork, which gives some comfort, although I would love to see the newer Mobi A34, which is a little bit more durable. The bike feels snappy, it feels comfortable, it rides great, it accelerates well, especially with this derailleur system from Microshift. But for day-to-day use, I would prefer the Nexus 5e or the Enviolo version, because it's a little bit less maintenance than with these open gears. Overall, we were pretty pleased with this bike. Sure, you have to take some compromises with a small size, but Carrie compensates this with some great ideas. And if you are in the market for a compact long john cargo bike to carry your dog around, or do your groceries, or for the occasional school or kindergarten trip, well then Carrie can be a great companion. What do you think of this bike? Let me know in the comments. Give a thumbs up if you liked the video, and if you want to see more of these videos, then consider subscribing. It's free. Bye bye. See you next time.